Hey guys, welcome back to the ManLab. So today's episode, we have Jeff and Alex from T Clinics USA. Jeff in particular is the brains with muscles. He's had a lot of experience with helping people with competition on stage, physiques and everything of that nature. One thing though in this episode we're going to really tap into is optimizing your nutrition around exercising so you can get more muscle, better longevity, all that sort of jazz that you want to do from the gym. Just a caveat, you will not look like Sam Sulek from just eating. There will be some other things you will need to be taking, but we will not be discussing those in this episode. So let's get in the show.
Welcome to the ManLab, where we combine science and health in the pursuit of making men great again.
This is how legends are born. This is how legends are born.
Run us through, because I botched the intro for everyone.
good.
What have you done so they can understand why they should
A lot of it was
listen
more sports nutrition. You know, back when I started working out at an early age and was fascinated with nutrition. Really could give two shits about training. You know, there were so many people that were trainers and, you could put the work in, but where you see the biggest return on investment is what you're doing before you train, during train, after you train, and what you're doing the rest of the day with your food. So it's like that has such a big impact in how you look. You know, it's over the years, that's kind of why I did kind of gravitate towards more physique is, you take people that are training a certain amount, put it in the same amount of work, but change their nutrients or food or supplements, sometimes peptides or whatever else they're doing, and you could see a drastic improvement more from the nutrition. So that was always the thing that was
Well, it's like the idea of like you are what you eat. So like training kind of turns your food into essentially the goal, what you're trying to achieve.
You've seen me forever. It's like I could change nothing in my day-to-day outside of my food and change the way I look pretty quick,
Well, and
I was showing this guy's pictures the other day, which used to look like.
I go from like partly Cuban sumo looking to
But also, so at your age, which is?
I'll be 43 next month, actually.
And you currently sit at what body fat percentage? Because you just got a DEXA scan recently.
Well, I'm curious to see. I got one coming into the office here in like 2 weeks, but my last one I did was about 2 months ago. I was at 5.7,
and that's
on a
just
DEXA scan.
and that's just natural, right? Like you weren't. Were you training for that?
No,
like,
I mean we did that
cutting
whole
or anything?
carnivore month. We did January just trying to get people on track after the new year.
You're not like stepping on stage anytime soon.
No, I mean those
is
days
just
are
like-
gone.
5.7 is like
stupid low.
That's
On a DEXA.
stupid low.
Yeah, on a DEXA, that's really low.
I mean, that's, it's funny how things have changed for me too, because I used to chase being bigger at the picture you saw, and now it's like, my whole life is just longevity and I feel so much better. Obviously I want to have muscle and perform well, but, I've never really been, I think growing up, I had to work really hard to get lean. And I think that's why I was so fascinated with nutrition I had to work, be more consistent with it to get to that. So I had to find better, more efficient ways. And I just, the goal is to help other people.
Well,
the reason why Jeff and I are business partners, this goes back almost 20 years, is that because Jeff was known as the guy in the gym that did everybody's nutrition. I knew Jeff to be the guy in the gym that you would go to, and he would help the girls who wanted to be on stage for fitness shows or guys that were aspiring amateur bodybuilders to kind of fine tune their dietary programs. I was never personally into bodybuilding as far as like going stage, but I would go to him with questions. Like I never
going
really
to the pool. What should I do?
Yeah, I want to look at. I want the bodybuilding stage of life. I mean, I never really understood nutrition to the capacity of like the really fine-tuned manipulations and the things that he was able to show me in 1 week's time, how I could transform a mediocre me physique to like holy shit physique. It was a science project, and the things that like he would point out as far as carb loading and sodium loading and more water and things like drinking what was that sugar stuff that we would drink before we go to the gym, the glycerol or whatever.
You do glycerol, Karbolyn.
Super just
I mean, but that's a
small
whole
little
nother.
things.
Those are like obviously like short term type things, but it also shows you how fast like those things can be adjusted and manipulated to create a certain look. But I'll tell you just what I think still to this day, and I you know me, I feel like I'm still learning and still evolving, and in the businesses we're in, it's like, we come across so many different people and body types, and obviously more of it's older individuals now and women looking to lose weight, but it's I'm still learning. I feel like there's always way more cooler stuff coming to the market, cool things you could add to the mix to like cut a corner a little more efficiently. I think once again, now I have a kid and I'm married and I'm trying to like hopefully, extend the back end. I'm a little bit more cautious with what I would have done, and how I go about doing certain things.
Just before we go into the actual diet component of the podcast, you being at 5.7% body fat, more or less natural, like consistently, there is a common
I'm
argument.
somewhat naturally. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, what's this guy taking?" I'm just TRT, by the way.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
No, but I mean, so most people will say sitting at that body fat percentage is extremely dangerous. Now, I don't know. Like, I always thought I was low. I sit roughly around probably 9%, I'd guess, and I don't notice like the things that people say, which is like, anxiety is going to be through the roof. It's all these other problems that you're going to have. Like, it's not healthy to sit that low. At 9-ish%, I don't feel that. 5.7% is a whole other level. What do you find? Is there a concern long term, or is there?
It's how you got there and how quick you got there, and obviously how far away from is it from your norm. And so this is like years ago when I would go from heavy D at 225 down to like 185 pounds peeled up.
And Jeff, what do you weigh right now? Just to give reference to this
morning
conversation.
I was 178. This one. Oop, there's my phone.
And, and how tall are you?
5'6.5".
Every half counts.
Yeah, so that's a decent amount of muscle mass too. So it's not like you're like just skinny, ripped guy. You got a decent amount of muscle.
Yeah, I do notice at this point, and you get to a certain point where it's never, once you have it set, you're going to be able to stay there. Because your body's forever going to evolve. Like what I'm doing now, activity wise, I'm at a point where if I don't start making adjustments or don't start adding certain things, I noticed I was starting to lose some muscle to be able to kind of keep that leanness. The body is going to metabolically adapt. It happens, when it comes to like guys in the gym and weight training. It happens when people are trying to lose weight. So, once again, it's not like you set it and forget it. It takes a little bit more time and attention. But to go back to your question, how unhealthy. If I would have got there quick, and I'm not really meant to be there, I think that's not as safe or as healthy as versus you eventually like kind of progressing toward that. And it's taken me some time. But yeah, that's my norm now. Like I don't feel like before when I would get there, I would go, after I got down to a certain body fat percent, I go out and like take like a week off. I'd put on 25 pounds and look like a completely different person.
Like that bulk shred mentality where it's like you see people trying to compete. Like I used to see it a lot where they would cut. And then their victory meal is like complete gluttony. And that's going for 2-3 weeks. And then 3 weeks after they've looked incredible, they look like a blown up balloon.
Honestly, it sets people down a bad path that like no different than somebody who's like dieted the wrong way, the yo-yo dieting cycle. It's just a yo-yo dieting cycle for someone who actually like does, puts in the work and goes to the gym. It still creates a problem, and you got to fix the metabolism in that.
Find out if you may have low testosterone for free with the Atom test. Now, sometimes it's a little bit nerve-wracking to go into a clinic to get a full blood panel to find out your hormone levels. And sometimes you might just want to sort of kick the tires just a little bit. If you are that person, the Atom test is for you. All it is a couple of questions that are completely non-intrusive, non-invasive, that will help give an indication to you whether you may or may not have low testosterone. And the best part is the Atom test is accurate up to 88% of the time. So for something as simple as a questionnaire, that is a very high number. Now, if you want to make use of that, you can do it online right now. It takes less than 30 seconds to fill out, and it is at bit.ly/free Atom test. That's free ADAM test. Now, if you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. And then after you've filled out the questionnaire, you will now have a better idea of whether you may or may not have low testosterone, and if you need to take the next step, which is a detailed blood panel with a clinic such as T-Clinics USA. So again, to make use of that, go to bit.ly/free Atom test, and let's continue to making men great again. Let's get back to the show.
So I think the show, what spawned us for wanting to come here is actually a question I've been asking. I'm 45 and I've been in this weight training game for 20 something years, and I've been able to maintain my physique, not near as sharp as yours, but I think for my age and how much effort I put in, I'm okay. Is really understanding what can be done to make these efforts we put in or these products we use like a better end result. So So part of the show, for those who are kind of tuning in and maybe wondering where are we going to go with this, the question I want to help you ask on behalf of the viewers and behalf of us as well is, based on different type of body types or workout programs, male or female, time of day that we train, really what do you recommend? Like what should I eat before I go to the gym? Is there anything I should be doing during my workouts, depending on what type of weight training I'm doing? I mean, I remember at one point you guys were eating like candies and shit during your workouts.
That's
and then
one question I've got,
as soon as you leave, I remember it was like eat kids cereal, really fast acting, quick glycogen stimulating stuff. Then we went through carnivore and you advised me to do like MCT oils. And, so there's always different variations of kind of like fueling the workout, but not only that, like fueling the post-workout. So for everybody listening, there's probably a different version of whether you train first thing in the morning, empty stomach, or you train in the morning, or you're an afternoon trainer, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to gain muscle, you're in keto, you're in low carb.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot of
all this stuff.
Right?
So like, what do we do, and how do we not fuck it up?
Well, I think you gotta, first off, you gotta break it down to what are you currently doing, because it could apply whether what type of diet plan are you on first. Like, are you vegan, vegetarian, are you carnivore? So because if I tell you to do something completely against what you're going to do or want to do, it's not going to be long term. And then you got to look at your goal. So, I think today's episode, we want to talk about how am I going to maximize
how I get jacked,
my pre, intra, post workout to get the most muscle as possible. But I always look at it as like, let's put on muscle, but not put on fat through the process of doing it. So, where is your current state? Like Alex, at where you're at your composition, making sure and time of day of training. So once again, I don't want to confuse people. So I want to give a couple scenarios. Is like,
I'm a morning trainer.
So he trains first thing in the morning. Same. I train, I get up at 4, go at 5. For me to get up and to have a meal, ideally, if you train later in the day, make sure you have a good, high quality, high protein, high carbohydrate meal 2 to 3 hours prior to going to the gym. You definitely will perform a lot better. We do run on a little bit of an empty gas tank in the morning. And what I'm about to say right now is perfect for your people going to the gym in the morning that just wake up and go. Because to wake up, for me to eat something, to run to the gym, I don't feel good with food in my stomach. And if you do find some people need to put something in their stomach so they don't feel nauseous or, queasy, I try to make sure you have something fast and available for your system to be able to use, because you fasted all night. You don't have any calories or nutrients coming in. So I guess we got to break this up now. So you want to build muscle? Are you trying to stay on a low carbohydrate plan? So like on carnivore, we did no carbohydrates. And what I was able to do to keep muscle during that time, because you have some people that are hardcore carnivore or keto, one of the best things you could do for that is have a medium chain triglyceride fat. You could buy MCT oil, which is 100%. They actually sell it at Publix. I just saw it the other day.
It's a derivative of coconut oil.
Yeah, coconut oil is about 80% MCT oil, so it's medium chain fat versus like a long chain fat, like an olive oil or something like that. So it is a fat that breaks down really, really quick, and it's easily or quickly used by the body as energy, as calories. So it's a medium chain fat that is readily available for your system to use to fuel what you're about to do. So just let's talk common real quick, and then we'll go back to the morning workout, is always try to support what you're about to do. If you have the capabilities to make improvements, support what you're doing and while you're doing it, and then make sure you replenish what you did to put yourself in the best state to be able to repair and build the muscle, because the act of exercising or training is trauma, right? You're causing trauma to the muscle, making the muscle break down. You're tearing the fibers down, and it takes you 48 to 72 hours for it to build back bigger or better than it was before. And we'll get to that. That's like a whole nother, like after we talk about like supporting it. So morning trainers. Yeah, I'm saying so there's so many ways you could go with this, but like first thing in the morning to have the best performance, if you're going to go low carb or no carb, MCT oil, quick, fast way. I put it in my coffee, drink it, go. You could actually have like
bulletproof coffee. Is there similar?
Yeah,
it's like butter, right?
Yep. Though a lot of times they'll use, or you could use like ghee butter. It's not as much of a MCT. It doesn't have as much
it's just
MCT, but it's a fat that breaks down quick like a carb. And it'll actually give you some extra like performance. You're gonna have more endurance through your training. And the thing about that is you'll actually get more lipolysis because you're not having the carbohydrate or the glycogen.
And roughly how long before And I know it's arbitrary to a degree, but are we talking like if you have it within 15 minutes of your workout, you'll feel like kind of crappy? Is 30 minutes better?
And at what point does it become too long? Because I've done that before where maybe I've taken something and then I ran and I'm like, shit, I can't get to the gym. And then I had this fast acting fat and I end up stuck on a phone call or stuck in traffic.
Or stuck in a bathroom. So that's one thing you got to be careful of with like fats and more so
Runs right through
MCT
you.
fats. A lot of times when you first start using it, usually you're going to go to the bathroom about 10, 15 minutes. So I would say 30 minutes before you train so you can kind of like squeeze one out so you're good. You're not like busting it out in the gym.
Poop.
Yeah.
Okay, so 30 minutes for MCT oil.
Yeah, I would say 15 to 30 minutes.
Now, would this concept apply to a person who's not necessarily in low carb? Like if they ate traditional carbs throughout their day, would a early morning workout person still benefit from an MCT oil versus doing a faster acting carbohydrate?
So, that for example, like for me, I live relatively lower carbohydrate. I personally have just started last week adding carbohydrates back in, not before, but during my workout, more faster acting carbohydrates. I like to use either like a highly branched chain cyclic dextrin. I know it's a HBCD, or you could use.
What's some examples of that?
I could do a plug. You go to truenutrition.com. It's basically a dextrin carb, but it's highly branched chain cyclic dextrin. So it's goes in quick and it's readily available quick. It's a powder you could actually put into a drink.
Okay.
There's over the years, even carb powders have advanced quite a bit. A lot of people used to use waxy maize or cornstarch. There was Vitargo that's been used.
What's Karbolyn? I know that's
so Karbolyn is one of my favorite ones. Personally, if you have someone, and I'll kind of use a comparison. I'm actually not meant to be a small, lean person. But somebody who is more ectomorphic, so I don't know if anyone knows, so ectomorph is somebody with they stay a lot leaner, they have a really, really fast metabolism. Blake, I do like faster digesting carbs, and they could actually, he needs it quickly available. Whereas me, I'm more that mesomorph in between mesoendo. I like to have more of a carb that gets in quick, but it stays with me a little bit longer. So Karbolyn, there's a patent on it. There's a couple people that use something similar. It's a homopolysaccharide. It's a potato carb that shuttles fast like sugar.
So it's like powder. It's like powdered potatoes,
carbohydrate.
basically?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit different, but it's a homopolysaccharide. So it's a polysaccharide carb, and it shuttles quick, but it stays with you a little bit longer. Which I used to like to use this with endurance athletes, people who did like marathons or triathlons, or if they were doing even CrossFitters. I had a couple of people that were in the games years ago when CrossFit became big, and that was what I would use to kind of intermittently be able to set carbohydrates so they could perform really, really good and not really get gassed out.
So hold on, before I get confused, and we're all
trying to pull him back.
Would you do these MCT oils before and then do these carbohydrates with? Does that work, or is it two different
you could.
people?
It depends on your what you're trying to do with your calories. So you guys want to talk calories before we even talk about
let's just stay
application.
Let's stay on this level.
So as far as when it comes to, I usually either, if I'm trying to lose or get leaner but still maintain muscle or build muscle, I do MCT oil. And I won't do intra-workout carbs. I'll use electrolytes.
No, because I'll tell you, I think there's this misconception. We hear people say do oatmeal. And I'm, as little education as I have in nutrition, I'm like, don't do oatmeal because it doesn't even hit your body for hours. So you eat this shit, an hour before they go to gym, and you think that it's powering your workout.
It's not there.
It hasn't even hit your system for
It's
hours
also slowly,
after.
I feel like
and
that
it bogs down your stomach, and a lot of blood
does
has to
slow
go
you
to your
down,
stomach
right?
to digest. Now you lose that oomph in your muscle.
Yeah.
It's really inhibiting pump. It inhibits your quality of energy. And I'm like, don't do that. So people ask me in return, well, what should I do instead? I either tell them MCT, rice cakes, kids cereal, a banana, different faster acting type of carbohydrates tend to be a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if I had to pick, if you're going more lower carbohydrate and you want to still perform well, still composition change, and you're not necessarily going to drink carbohydrates through your workout. And I always say that's something you got to test out too, because some people do get bloated having carbohydrates if they're drinking them. I love MCT, or you could even get into just regular, like I said, the coconut oil, which is super easy, tastes a little bit better. So
that's before
pre-workout, especially if you're training in the morning. Like I said, to get up if you're going to go to the gym at 5, to have anything really available other than something like MCT or even like a carbohydrate powder, you might as well just go to the gym fasted, unless you have to put something in your stomach just to make you feel okay.
Nuviva Medical Weight Loss has helped over 50,000 men and women in Florida lose over 500,000 pounds in body fat. Now, there are wonder drugs out there like semaglutide and tirzepatide, but it's important that these tools are used properly and safely with the correct guidance, because that guidance is what will help you make sure that you're losing that unwanted body fat while keeping the lean muscle mass. Nuviva Medical Weight Loss has over 10 clinics statewide in Florida with expert coaches who are with you the entire way, helping you with any habit adjustment, large or small. The secret behind Nuviva's continual success with their clients is their in-office expert experience. You will speak directly with a support coach, and if you have any questions, you will get immediate answers. If you are struggling, you will get immediate adjustments or pivots that will keep you on track with your goals. And what's great is you can choose the route of your weight loss goals. So if you just want to take diet adjustments and some supplements, you can do it. However, if you want to go a little bit of a stronger, faster approach and use semaglutide or tirzepatide, the Nuviva expert coaches can also help you along the way with that as well. So if you have a lot of pounds to lose or even just a few pounds, and you know that having some support with an expert coach will get you there faster, contact Nuviva at either nuvivaweightloss.com or send them a message on Instagram at Nuviva Weight Loss and mention the ManLab for a little perk. That is Nuviva, Nuviva weightloss.com or at Nuviva Weight Loss on Instagram. So hit up Nuviva, get an expert coach, get that support you want, and let's get you feeling amazing again and lighter again. Let's get back to the show.
And the danger behind fasted is you go catabolic if you don't have enough muscle tissue to support.
Well, there's some videos out there talking about,
that was
you
my
might.
question.
Yeah.
Is there a
Well, I know what
benefit
they
to fasted
say.
cardio, or is that more like, not bro science, but like people are getting 2 + 2 and getting 5 because they're like, well, if I eat less, I'll burn more or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to remember, per your goal, whether you're trying to, and I would say be more precise in your goal, whether you're trying to hold on to muscle and drop body fat, or you're trying to do a combination of the two, which is a little bit slower. That's transitioning, building some muscle, dropping fat in the process, or trying to solely just keep your body fat where it's at and put on lean muscle tissue. You're going to adjust your total daily calories. And, a good rule of thumb, since we're already talking about this, we might as well talk. Go online and get there's tons of RMR or BMR calculators. Just type in, basal metabolic rate or resting metabolic rate, and you could put in your age, your activity level. It's going to show you what it takes for you to sit and do nothing calorically to manage your weight. And so,
does that account for lean muscle mass? Or
yeah.
no?
So a lot of times,
It asks you like your height and
your
weight,
height
your age,
and weight,
your energy
and age.
activity level.
It's not going to have
Because
specifics.
my BMI says that I'm technically on the verge of being overweight.
Yeah, I'm
Anyone
morbidly
looking
obese.
That's
So listen, it's not going to be.
Yeah, my BMI is like 34.
It wouldn't be 100% accurate. There's some cool devices. We actually have some at the clinics called, we use a core resting metabolic rate machine that gets a little more specific. Oxygen coming in, CO2 comes out, and it'll be more precise. But those are going to get you in the ballpark to have a good baseline on your calories. And then depending on your goal, if you're trying to obviously just shred up, you want to put yourself in a somewhat of a deficit calorically. I always say a good rule of thumb, just for the average person out there so we don't complicate it, put yourself in a $250 calorie deficit. After you buy supplements, you'll be in a deficit money-wise. But
through the duration of the day.
No, yeah. So you say your body needs 2,000. Let's go, let's take 250 off that, and then try to make up the difference, from physical activity. Usually 30 minutes to an hour a day, you're going to get another 250 to 500 at most. Mm-hmm. And that's a good starting point. And then you start adjusting things. Now, I could put you on that same deficit and have your food be crap choices, and then take your twin and put you on better, healthier choices with types of food and get a completely different outcome, because obviously protein's going to support muscle tissue. Protein's the building block of muscle. The amino acid profile is going to help build muscle. So the food choices of those calories make a difference too.
So getting back on rails here.
Yeah.
No, because this conversation could probably take 10
we could
shows
go
up,
20
and
different
I've known you for many years. I know you're a wealth of knowledge. So
He will go 20 different ways.
and again, a lot of this is selfishly because I would like to learn. the powdered carbohydrate drink during my workout.
Yep.
How many grams of carbs based on like weight or like intensity of activity? How do you measure how much somebody should be consuming?
I mean,
and at what speed during their workout?
So we're not going to go precise on that. I'll give a general.
Yeah, just general.
So, if it was up to me, and you're really solely, this episode was supposed to be how to maximize muscle growth or get jacked around my workout. One of the first things I started doing with a lot of athletes years ago is having intra-workout carbohydrates. Instead of waiting till you're done to start feeding the muscles or fueling your muscles, start doing that while you're training. As you're depleting, you're putting glycogen back in. Your performance goes up. Your muscle pump goes up. Your reps are going to go up. Your strength will stay up. And it's ultimately going to lead to more muscle growth over time. So instead of waiting until you're done, add it in. Good rule of thumb, females 20 to 25 grams if they're trying to build some muscle tissue. It's a good starting point. Whereas guys, I would say anywhere from, say, 35 to, say, 50.
So for me, because I guess I'm not maybe as ectomorphic as he is, but which of those two carbohydrate blends would you recommend?
So for you, I would actually do a blend. I do 25% of the carbohydrate. So I do 50 in the morning.
So the general public is probably better for a blend.
Yeah.
The average person.
I like it because you get fast-acting carbs that you could use right away. You're going to burn through them. And then the Karbolyn.
What's some examples of fast acting? Like some.
Well,
No, that's
so
the thing.
I'm
He's
talking
saying
about
that, the
carb
powder stuff.
powders. That's pretty much the only
So
way
you go
you're
on
gonna
that
go.
website. that
And
you
I'll give you
mentioned.
guys a cheap option that, like, if you're in a pinch, that will work, but it's not as good. And I don't like, if you're really you're focusing on it, I would get into the carb powders of True Nutrition, highly branched chain cyclodextrin. Just get an unflavored powder.
Hey, can we put a tag on that?
Yeah, we'll put a tag. We'll put a
You'll
tag.
You'll
Tag
have to send me those links.
Well, and what's cool about a lot of these carb powders, I'm just recommending, they weigh gram per gram on the scale. So like what I'll do is 25 grams of a highly branched chain cyclodextrin, and I'll do 25 grams of the Karbolyn powder.
Which isn't much.
No, it's not a lot at all. And I usually will put in a liter of water. Now, this is where I recommend how you apply it, and it depends on your activity. Try to ration it from the start of your workout till the time you finish. You do a set, you take a sip, you do a set, take a sip, and you're constantly it's like you're topping off the gas tank while you're training. And so you're going to be able to recover a lot faster.
Do you do BCAAs with this, or does
So
that
you could
even
do-
matter? Is that bullshit, the BCAA conversation? That's
Yeah.
true. What's this one that everybody's talking about? True aminos?
Yeah.
Is that bullshit? Should we be doing that? Should we not?
82%
82% liquefy. Well, you're gonna if you don't have them, you're gonna liquefy muscle in 3 minutes. Not possible. But so there is some argument, and obviously branched chain amino acids. Personally, I feel are a waste. I do use a BCAA drink just for the flavor. And the electrolytes because
And the hydration.
It tastes way better than
I do it for the
Essential-
buzz.
Yeah.
I use the one, Hani's company, Evogin.
Yep.
It tastes good, and it's got more like salts and hydration factor that I
They're
care
getting
more
better.
about.
And we'll talk about what do you add to the drink. So your carbs, if you're trying to get 20, 30, 40, 50, I always recommend go just do 50-50 blend. You're going to add electrolytes, or if you're going to add a drink that has electrolytes that kind of help that muscle pump and performance. And then as far as aminos, if you're going to add an amino, I would highly recommend essential amino acids. Those are more leucine, isoleucine, and valine, which are your essential amino acids. Those are going to give you a better chance to be able to build that muscle bigger and better when you're done. So BCAAs, they'll help.
Now, if I intend to do cardio, I should finish this drink up before stepping on the cardio machine.
Yeah, it just depends on what kind of cardio. Once
Cardio
again,
just for cardiovascular
Treadmill.
health, not necessarily.
Treadmill.
So if you're going cardiovascular health, this is a good tip I'll give everyone here. Even if you're trying to build muscle or, maintain a leaner physique, I don't do a lot of slow, this is probably the biggest thing I've
do
changed
HIIT.
over the years. I do usually 3 to 5 minutes of a high intensity or interval. I let it complement my workout. So, for example, if
If
I
you
do
legs,
back,
you do something.
yeah, so say I did back today. I would get on a C2 rower or a row machine, and I will row as hard as I can for 30 seconds.
out your back.
And wait for 30 seconds. And I let it, so it almost finishes off the muscle I just trained. And then I'm also getting that interval to where my metabolic rate will go up. My metabolism will get better. I'm not doing it for prolonged periods of time, and I'm going to mitigate how much muscle I'll lose. So it's a win-win when you're still trying to grow.
Shit, Blake, I'm doing it all wrong. I've been doing it all wrong for
I'm trying to
27
figure it
years.
out. I think I'm doing it
Listen,
similar.
you
I hit
train
the
good.
I hit the bag after basically.
Yeah,
for
that's
like
high
20
intensity interval,
minutes.
but it's straight up 20 minutes. I can't do that. I would die.
See, I could do it for 45, but that's not a brag. The
He's like, that's not a brag, but it is. Flat.
All right, so now we're at the gym. We drank our carbs. Again, I've
Just
seen
quickly,
you over
sorry,
the
Alex.
years eating the candies. Like, talk to me
Yeah,
about that.
no, I
Like,
mean, this is,
Yeah.
that's a lot of trial and error and just kind of seeing
like guys who do a lot of like heavy leg training, squat day, I'll see them and they're eating gummy bears and shit.
I think a lot of them, one, they just want to eat gummy
I was
bears.
going to say, it sounds like an excuse to eat
they just want
gummy
to,
bears.
listen, depending on their goal, they just
They're
probably.
probably shooting
But you-
insulin too. And then
Well,
the
that's
candies
the other thing. They're
support
going
it, too.
hypoglycemic and they're like, oh shit, I got to fix it or I'm going to pass out and have a diabetic coma. But
Right.
you never know. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of things that have happened in like the sports world and gimmicks that have come out. Listen, I've tried them just the vet to see like how I felt, how I responded. Was there some validity to it? I do think long extended workouts, I think you do need to support something like that. I see these guys in the gym do hour and a half, 2 hour workouts. Personally, I'm 20 to 30 minutes in and out, and I've been that way since 2019. And I feel like I'm getting a bigger return on investment by being more of a sniper, getting in and out.
That's
make
what
sure
I've started doing is dropping it down to 40 minutes 7 times a week instead of what I originally was doing, which was like an hour and a half.
I think if
4
you're in your
times a
20s,
week.
you can go to the gym for an hour and a half to 2
I don't have that
hours.
kind
You
of
can pick
time.
up chicks. You can
I
talk
think
to your
you
friends.
waste half your fucking
But like when
time,
you're
man.
in your 30s, 40s, like I see these guys in there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, bro, you are way overtraining. There's no way you can work out hard for that long, or your body can repair from that overtraining time.
So think about it, and this is kind of what I started really like honing in on is you go to the gym to tear muscle down, and through eating, proper nutrition, sleeping, giving it a chance to recover bigger and better than it was before. And that could be different per your nutrition, your pre, intro, post workout nutrition. So I always call this your peri workout or intro workout nutrition, making sure you're going to support muscle growth. And then making sure that, your goal overall, you're not working against it. A lot of people work hard, but they're not working smart. And then they don't reap the benefits out of it. It's like, get the job done, cause trauma to the muscle and let it repair. That's the thing when you see a lot of people train the same thing or the similar muscle groups. And it's like they recover and then they break it down and they break it down and it never gets better. You see the guys or the girls in the gym for the last 10 years and they look the same.
Yeah.
And
or worse.
it goes down to, how they're training. What are you doing around that time to support your goal?
All right, so now let's talk about
One
Go
second.
ahead.
You've mentioned the carbs. So based on body types, so you've got ecto, meso, endo. With that carb ratio, or that 50-50 ratio that you mentioned with BCAA's combination, does that apply for all 3 of those body types?
It depends on, because I'm an endo meso, but I'm currently, you look at me, my composition is where I'm not trying to get any leaner. So even me being an endo meso, I need to start adding it in to support. If I had to pick one time a day to put carbohydrates, which I've been on low carb, I would put it intra workout all day long. That's for anybody.
For all body types.
But if you're fat or you're overweight and you're trying to you want to get bigger, I wouldn't take it and start putting intracarbs in massive amounts.
So I think the exception to the rule
Right.
here is if you're actively trying to lose weight, then during that workout, you probably wouldn't
MCT oil.
just
Just that.
Yeah.
because then you're activating
Yeah.
the fat burning, and then you do
Yeah.
nothing during the workout.
100%.
Right? Let the
Smarter,
body
not
burn the
harder.
fat for the energy.
Absolutely.
And if you're skinny and you're trying to put muscle mass on, you would still do the same equation, maybe fat beforehand, but then carbs.
Well, that's why I
during.
said this is like a very difficult question because it's like if you give me a person, a situation, we'll say, okay, this is what's
Well, we're
best
just-
for that.
Ah, that's good. Well,
Yeah.
no, you're answering the question.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're trying to gain muscle and you're not worried
whole
about
muscle.
trying to
Composition.
lose, if you're trying to just gain muscle, not worried about body fat decreasing, carbs are great. If you want to decrease your body fat
And weight.
and body fat and weight, you want to have MCT oil 30 minutes before and then
Nothing.
But there's
nothing during.
not, and don't take this as like gospel because you could take somebody who wants to build muscle, but they also want to lose fat. There's the other 22 hours of your day that like, what are you doing during that time to support your goal?
I think that'll be another show.
Yeah.
because
that's not this episode.
I'd say the average person is that. Like I'm that person. I would like to put on
I
some
want
muscle
to
and
put
I would
muscle,
like to
but
burn
I want to
fat.
stay lean as well. So my day is, and I'm not meant to be a lean person. Now I'm at a point where I could have carbs so I could feel better, perform better. But then the rest of the day I eat relatively low carb. I support my workout time. And that's probably, in my book, the most important time when it comes to your pre, your intra, and your post-workout nutrition. So you aren't spinning your wheels. Get the biggest return on investment per your goal or the sport or whatever you're training for. Support that time or bookend that time with the right protocol or plan, and make sure you have enough to, one, support your performance, help your performance, replenish, what you did during your performance.
All right, so now workout's over. You did whatever cardio that is, whether it was just walking casually, it was doing your HIIT training, and you're finished up. Now what? Do you rush to the protein shake counter and make a shake real quick with a banana and all the shit, or do you take another hour and go home and just make some scrambled eggs? Like, what is
Go buy Perfect Amino.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, I think that was like an old school bodybuilding. Like, you're gonna waste muscle really, really quick.
You have that cheat hour.
You have your anabolic window that you're gonna be able to get the most. I think it's more crucial when you're getting leaner and say you're not supporting the workout, because you are depleted. So somebody who didn't have something through their workout, you would want within a certain length of time to get something in. Usually I always say a quick, fast source of protein. Obviously the amino acid profile is the building block to help build back the muscle.
So now what you're saying, again, just to clarify this, if I had just the MCT before I went to the gym and I did nothing during my workout besides potentially BCAAs, you're saying leave there and a shake composed of what?
Just a whey isolate shake or a hydrolyzed whey isolate.
But no carbs?
No banana, not if you're trying to get leaner.
Okay.
And then what I typically do, if that's the sequence for that type of person, you'll have your MCT, you'll train, you do your cardio. Let's get a shake in just so you have something quick, fast.
Stop the process of burning muscle.
We had to start building back, right? Build back better.
Build back better. Every time you say it, I keep thinking that.
I was like, so build back better. And then, someone like that, now at maybe an hour and a half, they could have a meal. Now, but if you had carbs through your workout, you never really got depleted. You don't need to grab something right away.
You don't need the protein then?
Well, so I still put a protein shake, but it's not like I'm like, oh shit, I gotta have a protein shake.
It's not time sensitive.
Yeah, I usually within an hour I'll have a protein shake, and then I'll get back on my regular meal schedule. Obviously, most of my meals are more protein, low carb.
More protein driven because of the low carb.
Hey guys, so just quickly, we've noticed a lot of you commenting that you're not sure where you can go to get trusted and safe peptides, semaglutide, tirzepatide, testosterone replacement therapy, or testosterone boosting therapy. And we wanted to just mention that T Clinics USA is one of those places. Now, Alex and Jeff, who you see in this podcast frequently, they're probably in this podcast right now with me, they are from T Clinics USA. And as they've shown in episode after episode, details is what matters. So just because you may want something or think you need something, they are going to make sure that you are getting the thing that is right for the goal that you have. And what's better is they offer a 10% introduction discount to anyone who is listening to the ManLab. So that is you. So if you wanted to make use of that, get peptides or testosterone from a place that you can trust that have your goals in mind and want to show you the right way to get there, go to tclinicsusa.com, mention the ManLab for 10% off your first package, and you can even ask Alex or Jeff directly any questions you may or may not have, which is kind of cool. So just again, tclinicsusa.com. If you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you are listening or watching this podcast. Mention the ManLab in the contact form and you will receive 10% off your first package. Now let's get back to the show.
How true is it about this? You get this free window to kind of fuck around and eat whatever you want. I mean, I think a lot of people use this as their excuse to kind of have 1 hour of eating that shitty food. You see people eating everything from kids' cereals and donuts,
But why
waffles.
would you want to? That's what.
Well, I've never subscribed to it, but I see a lot of bodybuilders posting, especially younger kids, who leave the gym and they just do a full-blown assault. And they're like, yeah, because it's like driving the nutrients.
Once again, you got to look at where you're at, what's your goal, how hard did you train? You do have a little bit of wiggle room when you're depleted like that. If you didn't have anything through your training, you do have the capabilities to kind of absorb a little bit more glycogen.
So would you say more carb and lean protein versus fat then? Because let's say if you leave the gym, did the carbs during, would you leave the gym and have some whole eggs, or would you recommend more egg whites with maybe a banana or some kind of...
You're saying carbs during?
No, post. It's now post, because I remember we used to do whole grain toast with jam on it, and you'd do some egg whites, and that was a really good post workout. Is that still, or or rice cakes with with some kind of a jam on it with the high sugar, just to kind of...
Yeah, I mean, if you want something more solid, because some people by that point, if you train in the morning, you might be hungry because you got a completely empty stomach and you just emptied the gas tank.
Right.
For me, it's, I feel like if I had liquids all morning, I do want something in my stomach. So a lot of times I'll still get my shake in. And then within 30 to an hour, once again, depends on your goal. For me, I'm not really trying to, put any body fat on. I just want to build some muscle and stay
I think
lean.
the average person listening to our show is not a bodybuilder. They're
Yeah.
not in their 20s. We're, for the most part, in this 30 to 50-year-old range.
Yeah.
Majority of us are actively trying to keep or put on a little muscle, would like to lean out. I think majority of our people that are listening probably train early in the day and have a very active schedule.
Let's make it easy, put it into two categories, right? Because no matter the person, just so it's simple, you have the person that no matter time you train, you have I always say if you can, unless you're training first thing in the morning, your pre-workout meal at least 2-3 hours before, so you have something going into it. If you're the person that wants to get leaner but still build some muscle or composition change, that's typically an MCT. Train with some aminos and whatever else you want, electrolytes through the training time, get some protein in, and then you could get into a protein carbohydrate meal. Now, if you're the person that's Blake and you want to get jacked as much as possible, I would say, but you train what time?
Roughly like 8:30.
So you get up pretty early though.
But I'm up at
so you're fine.
4:30. For the average person, when I say training in the morning, it is still like 5 hours after I've woken up. Like I wake up at 4:30 and I go to the gym at 5.
Yeah, but you do your cold
9
plunge
o'clock.
run and all that shit beforehand too. So.
Well, before my injury, I was also, I'd get up at 4:30, work till 7:30, ice bath, run a mile, work another half an hour to 45 minutes, and then hit the gym for 45 minutes. I'm a little psychopath.
See, me on the other hand, I wake up, I have a coffee, I try to keep what's in it very low, maybe just a splash of cream, just to go to the bathroom, of course, and then I go to the gym. And I've gotten into this mode, unfortunately,
I guess I'd be more like midday training
of doing mine kind of wrong. I mean, I'm doing it fasted, and I'm doing it on BCAAs, of course.
I mean, you're not going to liquefy muscle, that's
no, I get that,
but you're
I'm
also not supporting what you're trying to do.
I'm hitting walls, and I'm noticing that, and I think this is a common. We find ourselves, and this kind of goes with many things that we do. We find ourselves content with where we are, and we're scared that if I change it, I may potentially get worse. But doing what I'm doing, I'm not getting any better.
Right.
So then I'm always worried if I introduce carbs, am I going to get more fluffy and fatter because I want to get actually leaner?
I think that's
and I've been very scared to reintroduce them because maybe in my past I've either done them in the wrong quantities or the rest of my day was shitty. And so this show is more like, I get you can't tell every person in a podcast what to do from an overall diet standpoint all day long. That would be like a 10-hour show and we still probably wouldn't cover it. But I think like understanding the importance of supplying fuel to the machine that you are during that moment that we're training.
Well, I would say support what you're about to do if depending on your goal. Replenish what you're doing if you can during your goal. That's typically intra-carbs if you're at that point to where you could add them, where you need them for performance. And then at least everybody, I don't care, give a shit who you are, make sure you start replenishing what you did so it could build back better.
Yeah. I'm not a big shake guy, okay? I don't like the idea of drinking protein shakes. I don't like all the additives and all that garbage. What is a good real food post-workout when it comes to protein? Eggs, steak,
I mean, you get steak. If you like rice a little bit quicker. I personally used to do like rice-based cereals. But
what about if I want to do more protein?
I do egg whites.
What's my protein alternative?
You do egg whites,
just liquid egg whites?
Yeah.
So
pasteurized, of course.
Yeah. You're just gonna seprate them and eat them like
get salmonella. We don't want to be guilty of that.
So, in my instance, I mean, I'm really low carb. Maybe not the last few weeks. I've been kind of fatty, but what I've found is like, and just from a mental standpoint as well as physical, like when we did carnivore month, I was like just jazzed.
Because you're fat.
Yeah, I had a lot of fat content with going pure carnivore that I noticed like, all right, then when I came back off it, by me reintroducing carbs into my diet, I didn't feel energetic during the day. I wouldn't even say that personally, and you could probably add to this, I don't feel like my muscle was growing. Like I felt personally more of a...
You felt flat though.
I'm flat, but I'm even like muscular wise. Like I feel I was definitely more leaner.
Well, you're deflated,
and
you gotta remember glycogen stores in the muscle with water.
Yeah.
So you were eating no like carbohydrates that were stored away in glycogen. So your glycogen levels were low. Muscles are kind of like kind of like a bike tire, you know. And so when you have carbohydrates, you know, it pulls 2.7 grams of water to store as glycogen in the muscle.
Yeah.
And obviously along with electrolytes, and the muscle kind of will expand. And that's why, like, that's when you get into the aesthetic side, you could expand the muscle. But when you don't have it for a certain length of time, you deplete a lot of the glycogen. The muscle kind of gets flat, almost like a flat bike tire.
So, because what I've been doing personally lately after working out is protein shake, not whey protein isolate, is the Fairlife, because I was just like, cool. But I'll have that, and then like 30 minutes after that, I'm eating a steak. Not having carbs because I find that my brain just shuts off after carbs.
Get tired.
With the insulin response.
So from the insulin response, and I've just been, I've been trying to get. I'm not trying to get bigger. Like I actually am very happy with where I'm at. It's more trying to keep it where it's mostly low carb. And does that matter in terms of like post workout in my?
Well, listen, if you're not gonna feed during. Like personally, I'll tell you, like
I'm open to the feed during though.
No,
Yeah,
100%. Listen, if I had to
Try it.
pick one time a day, that's my go-to. Even if you're overweight and you're going to go relatively low carb, but you're also trying to get the most, and you're putting the work, and you're trying to build muscle, intra carbohydrates all day long. Everybody, I don't give a crap who you are unless you got like uncontrolled diabetes and you shouldn't have simple sugars. Let's go with a little more complex stuff, you know. But for the most part, everybody would respond. You're going to support what you're trying to do. You're going to see a bigger return on investment, and then just make sure what you're doing the other 22 hours of the day or 23 hours a day, you're supporting your goal, whether it's I need to lose fat or I need to put on some more weight. And that's going to come down to your calories and your overall goal. So, you know, now to talk about carbs, like some people are like, well, I don't want to buy a carb powder. I don't have money and I'm on a budget. You could buy like a lot of, you know, and once again, it's just
Gatorade and that kind of shit's not the equivalent, right?
well, it's not. So the quality of the carbohydrate's not as good, but I'll tell you, it's better than nothing, and it will still do the job, and it still will support performance, and you'll replenish a little bit quicker because you never get depleted. So,
But you're doing
In a
you have to do
pinch,
it during the workout.
you could buy a 32-ounce.
There's a guy in my
Gatorade.
gym I see carries around a big thing of white rice, like sushi rice, and he eats a spoonful throughout the whole workout.
that's
I'm like,
doing
this is a lot of
nothing.
work.
Holy
man.
shit. What's your opinion on like? So my thing is, I'll drink a Monster Energy, not a free plug, but because during exercise, it's like that's the time where I'll have it maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes before, so it starts metabolizing and I feel a bit more of a buzz.
But that's a stimulant.
Is that beneficial? Does it help? Like,
I mean, listen, if
like,
you have more energy and your output's more because you feel better, you're out that a little extra rep or an extra little like effort towards that workout, you're going to tear that muscle down. And, you know, once again, though, that'll help that sequence as far as what you're trying to do in the gym. You still got to support it with food or nutrients in general just to replenish what you did.
Quickly, before we get back to the episode, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't on whatever channel you're watching or listening to the ManLab. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star review on the channel page, that would be greatly appreciated because that will help continue to push it a little bit further for whoever is looking for information to help improve their health. Now, on the topic of information, if you are on YouTube, you can leave a comment below on this episode and we will respond to it with as much information as possible, or it might be another episode down the road. The reason this is important is because the more questions you guys ask, the more we know what we need to do to serve you guys better in future episodes. So comment on YouTube, leave a 5-star review, hit subscribe, and let's continue to help making men great again. Let's get back to the show.
Let me ask you too about creatine. Yay, no, when? How much?
I love it, man. It's funny, over the years, a lot of people kind of shit on it. You know, a lot of the companies have produced a lot of the buffered creatines and the pills and the expensive versions. Still to this day, nothing is superior to creatine monohydrate. You could get it through steak. The problem is you'd have to eat some pounds of steak. Carnivore, I do feel like a lot of people that do red meat on carnivore, that's why they do respond better and do well in the gym, just from the creatine that is in steak. But I love creatine more so for performance.
During, before, when do you take it?
Personally, if you're gonna have an intra-workout drink, I would just put it in the drink.
5 grams?
5 to 10. I personally don't do it because I'm not training for a weight or a certain strength. I like it more for the people that have goals when it comes to us trying to hit a certain strength or they're trying to, like an athlete, it's great for more explosive performance. For me, for
Creatine
aesthetics,
is?
yeah.
Interesting.
So I've heard a lot of
'Cause
other
it's gonna
great
help-
things
yeah.
that has good like cognitive repair because of the
Well, you're helping
hydration
with-
to your brain, and
that
like it
might
has
have to
really
add
good.
that.
with ATP and
Yeah.
like there's it.
It's the one supplement I say to everybody, like there's no reason.
And
not to
a
take
lot.
this.
I think it got some raps for so long because
People
you
thought about
hold
being
water
water
and then,
intensive.
but if
So
you
that's my thing. So I mean, creatine's been one of those things just from my experience with it with high school. I think I've just sort of blocked it out entirely because
I'm
I'm
telling
like
you.
everyone that would do it would turn into like a water balloon.
But that's because they were taking like Celtec or something that
Okay.
was like loaded with sugar and carbs. Go back to 5 grams. You got to remember.
So that's like a
that
micro dose
bloated
of
look
creatine,
is
is it?
is not that it's subcutaneous hydration. You're getting intramuscular hydration with creatine. You're allowing the muscle that is composed primarily of water to supersaturate itself, so it'll pull the water content from that subcutaneous like zone between skin and muscle. It'll actually draw it into the muscle, and you'll find your muscle looks full, and your pump will be a lot better. I swear by creatine. It's a great thing. 5 grams a day. It's super cheap. The worst one on the market is as good as I think the best one on the market. Just don't believe the marketing hype of these bullshits. It's very long term, tried and true. Some people have GI issues with it. Start with 3 grams, build up to 5. I've
Just
seen
stay
people say 10
hydrated. Yeah,
and just
I'm
drink
5 to
lots.
10.
And I
That
do a lot
helps
of
with
and
hydration.
sodium.
Yeah.
And like I'm a
well, not
healthy
if you had to
salt
pick
fan, too.
something for pump or hydration for sure, something natural. I always go definitely get some. Make sure you have electrolytes. And then next to that would be putting creatine in there. Your performance will be better. Your endurance will be better. I think the problem is with creatine back then when it became a thing, people were taking it. It was kind of pushed as the thing to build muscle and be massive.
Yeah.
So you had the guys taking this, but also eating like a shit ton of carbohydrates. And you got to remember, you can only handle
Unless you're
so
in your
much.
20s
Well,
or teens.
yeah,
you know?
that was the thing because everyone that I saw would take it. It was like
bloated.
they would bloat out and
Yeah,
they'd
but-
be like, well, no, I'm doing that and then I'm going to cut. And I was like, I mean, I never want to, like my whole thing's Brad Pitt Fight Club. Like, well,
So if
shot
I
there.
took that same guy
I want that
and
body
they
build.
back then their carb consumption was probably too much, and they got to where they couldn't handle much, so they got watery just from having too many carbohydrates versus the creatine.
Could you have creatine on like what I'm doing, like carnivore, and that'll
Yeah.
keep you?
Yeah,
I think that's
you
what
get a
kept
lot-
me alive during my carnivore stint with us.
See, I didn't even do it.
Keeping it.
Yeah.
Kept my muscles
okay.
from completely
The
dying.
MCT saved me.
Well, you weren't doing carnivore because that's from coconut.
Well, I wasn't.
You cheated.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, shit, I
I
cheated
modified
then, too.
mine. Well, listen,
cheated then, I
cheated.
didn't realize.
Listen, I modified it because it's
a plant.
It's such a game changer. I've used it for so long. It's
Interesting.
definitely works.
You could have done ghee.
Eh,
It's not the same. I know. I'm just, but
I do
that was
ghee, too.
that's what like the bulletproof diet people say.
Okay.
I'm not the cult follower guy. I kind of tiptoe.
You stuck to it, man. We won't ding you on that.
Hey, listen, you saw my pictures. I actually got peeled.
Shots fired. Hey, I felt good on it. Like I think I feel like I got bigger and energetic from the carnivore. Now, if that was a lot, it was 30 days, so I don't know if it was.
I loved it, man. It was a great diet.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I trained harder.
Well, I talked to Alex, about this, and so anything for 30 days is going to be great. No, you never really see it. Usually, it takes 2 months.
That's what I'm
to
interested
see
in
it, or
trying.
60 days.
Because
to
we
see
didn't
it.
cheat. Like we weren't doing the dessert. You didn't drink alcohol. Like you were 100% in.
Well, so that's something I talk about just in general, and we do a lot of it with the weight loss
I
program.
missed pooing though. Sorry.
Well, you just didn't have that bulk, but
That's what I mean,
your
like-
gut felt good because it's a low FODMAP diet.
Yeah.
But
Hershey poops.
what I would say, like in a perfect world,
Rabbit.
depending on the person, that is a pretty hardcore diet. It's basically full blown ketosis. And most people and I noticed after about 2.5 weeks, I started stalemating. Most of my progress was at like 2.5. What I would have done, and everybody's different, sometimes at 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks.
cheat meal.
If you're on a diet and you're going and you're starting to stalemate after like 3 weeks or 3.5, no longer than 4 weeks, you need to refeed your metabolism, get food back in. Sometimes people call it a cheat meal. Just put food calories. Obviously, I like to go more carbohydrates. It replenishes your system. It helps with leptin. And then the minute you go back on a calorie deficit, you're moving. And so, I think a lot of people that just diet on their own at home, it's like they go so all in. And then after, like, they're just going and they get stuck and they keep going. They're like, F it. And they give up. And it's like
true.
something is just like having that
So
little.
instead of us calling it cheat meals, we should call it like therapeutic meal.
Yeah.
Make them believe it's something that's therapeutic to their benefit, right?
I always say like,
Because people are scared to cheat, but it's part of my therapy.
I had a therapy session
refuel
last
your
night.
system.
Yeah.
It's
I'm in
like
therapy all the time recently.
Yeah.
Got to get back off of therapy.
But that's the thing that's so like, everybody's so different. I mean, we're all the same. The body only works one way because a lot of people are like, well,
Yeah,
certain
all of a
things. If
sudden
you
they're
don't
different.
do this, this is gonna happen. Like
Physics doesn't work in their world.
But there's better, efficient ways. But the goal is to try to keep your body as homeostatic as possible and never let it get too far away from whether it be. And I'll raise my hand. I used to do shit way harder, and I'm telling you where I'm at now. I've found better, efficient, more ways to stay where I'm at now, and I don't feel like I'm struggling. I don't feel tired.
It's a beauty about getting older, Jeff. We learn how to work smarter and not harder.
Yeah.
So that's another. Before we wrap this up, that's one more question I've had. So the whole bulking, shredding. Like I understand that you need to feed the muscle to grow. From my external observation of it, like. Everyone looks at, obviously, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the GOAT of that industry. He never did that. He was always like, I'll train, and like just when it gets close to performance
took less
time, I
calories
will
in.
have a little bit less carbs. He just cut out carbs almost and increased his reps. Because my theory, which was always maintenance and a slow growth, is much better because then it's like you can, like my thing was always, if I want to on a whim go on a holiday, I don't want to have to train. I want to be like, sweet, I'm holiday ready. Just like with performing for looking good on stage.
You always
or
want to look
whatever
like
it
2
is.
weeks out. 2 weeks out of a pool
That's my
party.
goal now.
And so-
but I've been through what you're about to talk about.
That's
already
what
know
I
where
was
you're
always
going.
wondering. Where I'm like that bulk and shred thing. I'm like you're creating your body to guess constantly what reality is. That you're going to have long-term problems because.
Oh, absolutely. Why do you think a lot of some of the bodybuilders post Arnold, right? And
Which
I
is
think
weird because he's the GOAT. Why would you
Well,
reference what he did?
Well, no, he's the GOAT, when it comes to, but I think science wasn't as evolved as it is now. And there was a period in bodybuilding and, when it comes to like enhancement, when it comes to body in the drug era that happened where insulin and growth hormone, and you saw these guys make these leaps and bounds in a year or 2 years. Right. So, but what a lot of people didn't know back then, they didn't know what was involved with the insulin, like using Humalog and Humulin R and taking, having enough carbohydrates and shooting a long acting insulin. And so all they saw is this guy put on a bunch drastically, and then they saw them peel down. And the difference was like, all right, well, that's the way. This guy's eating this shit. He's eating all this. And they just saw this guy get massive and then all of a sudden, diet down and watch how he put on 20 pounds of muscle. That is not physiologically possible. So it created this, I think where people just thought I have to bulk and I got to put on as much muscle as possible. Meanwhile, they put on a bunch of shit if they don't do it the right way. And then what happens with those people that didn't have all the extra drugs, they go to diet and they end up dying it all out. Any of the muscle they put on, they diet off and they're still fatter than when they started, or they got to go past that. So it's, listen, I've been there. Man, I would say in like the early 2000s, actually, I did a really big bulk and it was like, I dieted back down. I'm like, shit, I don't look any different. It's like I did put on muscle, but I put on so much more fat. I had to take that excess fat off.
Not only that, like the theory that I had behind it, and it's interesting that you're kind of confirming it, was our body is always trying to regulate itself. Like what is normal? That's like if I stop training for a month and I metabolize a bunch of muscle, which has happened in the past from I was holidaying, didn't hit the gym. I lost a lot of muscle, but then within 2 weeks, I'm back to what's normal.
Homeostasis.
That if your body's always trying to find homeostasis and it's like, well, hold on, I've got all these carbs coming in, all this junk shit, then it's gone. Our body is built for survival, that it's like, well, hold on, I'm used to this. And then it disappeared. I live in an environment that's really unpredictable. So when it comes back in, fucking hold on to as much as I can. That, again, we do, like a lot of people will do performance because there is a vanity or something to it. Like
It's
I'm
a weird
fit.
sport.
Yeah, but also like I was always concerned that it's like you're trying to look a certain way, but now you're feeding the machine, your body, in a way that it's going to make it 10 times harder to keep that look and ultimately feed the beast which is inside us. Like, I look lean because I have that beast as well. Like, I want to look good. I'll be honest with it.
But isn't that like an interesting point when you think about this as kind of like, it's easy for us always to come back to a point. So if you fuck up your nutrition or you do something extreme as far as like over calorying during the day, or you drink too many carbs, it's easy to always come back to that reset start point. And I feel like that's something to take away from the show, that we can experiment with our nutrition and we can try new things. And like the worst case scenario is that for a short temporary time, you kind of come off track. And it's easy to get back to where you started and then try a different path, but you got to be willing to maybe see if that different path can take you to a different direction. I, for one, have always been nervous to get away from that 2-week window kind of concept of being overly beyond 2 weeks. And I've always stayed in the same nutrition kind of world. I've tried diets that you've recommended me. I give them a go. We've tried these carnivore things. Of course, during my carnivore, I lost like 16 pounds or whatever the number was. A lot of it water weight, of course. I think it's just, it's cool to be able to kind of hear your take and give me a little bit of like confidence that I can do some things I've been scared to do during my workout. And on your point about the homeostasis, like the worst case scenario, if I fuck up or I stop doing, I'll just come back to where I was anyway.
And that's the thing. It's the biggest. I think the most important thing. I don't want to work smarter, not harder. I don't want it to be tough. And as well, like I mentioned earlier, we go to the gym because we want to look good, feel good, but there's also like a little insecurity in us. And I think it's not bad to admit it. It's like, yeah, I want to look good. I want that. It's not even for external validation. I don't even care anymore. It's like the beast I'm trying to feed myself, that if I'm going to be fucking up the engine, why would I want to do that? Because now I'm going to be like messing with this problem that I got.
Well, and if it ain't broken, don't fix it too.
You know, the problem, so that's a great point, and I kind of, we'll end it whenever you want to end it, but don't start the process and obviously go some like extreme if you're not going to see it all the way through, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, rather than make these drastic changes, and listen, when it comes to weight loss, yes, you got to make a lifestyle change for a lot of people. You know, like we deal with a lot of people that are very unhealthy, and we have to get them back. But even our process, we try to make sure we do it without losing muscle tissue. But whether you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to lose fat, or you're trying to obviously maintain muscle and drop as much fat. I don't like saying weight loss, just fat loss. I cringe when I hear that, but sorry. Do it consistently over time. If you go 110% in and it's so far away from what you're going to do, whether you're trying to build muscle or drop fat, you're not going to be able to sustain it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's where people get messed up because they think they can and they think they're going to be fine. And then that rush to get there, they get metabolically messed up. And then the discipline to be able to maintain that is not there. And it depends on what they did prior to. So it's like, try to be a little bit better with your food every day, whether you're going up or down. Try to be a little bit better with your physical activity. And once again, I feel like I'm in a good point in my life. And I used to do it, but it was more experimental to see. Just stay close, don't do anything drastic and do the things that are going to move the needle the most. Focus on the things that give the biggest return on investment and stop looking for the quick fix.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's whoever does the thing more wins. And more in this case doesn't mean going to the gym 2 hours a day every day. It's like if I'm going to the gym 40 minutes, 365 days a year, I am going to beat you if you're going to the gym 2 hours 3 times a week. I'm just going to, because I'm putting in 365 workouts. You're putting in 100 and you're putting in 100. And so I'm going to use all the stuff you've said with the prepping before and after, but it's more now like being, all right, how do I commit to doing that every time I work out? Because then if that is fueling the system, if I do that longer, I'll see results.
Watch your results though. It's crazy how big of a difference.
I'm interested to see how it breaks down.
MCT in training, and obviously it's not going to be as good as like intra carbs, depends on activity.
Can you do both? Just quickly side note, like if I did MCT before, so say I did MCT because I'm equivalent to midday
it's
work.
going to still be calories. It's not like it's like there's no right or wrong. Like shouldn't mix MCT oil with intra workout carbs. That's something I've gotten so loose on certain things. Like there's
how you feel from it. Really,
100%. Just gauge how you feel. If it's within your calorie budget per your goal, you're good.
I've never counted calories.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Oh, see, well, Well, you're the guy that never had
I
to.
think we should do a follow-up show to this one, because the counting calories idea and then how to adjust macronutrients between carbs, proteins, and fats, and not get so detailed about like the dieting concept is really something that a lot of us, including myself, don't really understand. Like I see people where they voluntarily introduce fats and they restrict carbohydrates, but how do you know? Like how are you, at what point am I supposed to add an avocado to a meal or not have it? Like how many calories should that meal be based on my weight and my goal? So I think this should be maybe one of a two-part,
Well,
I mean,
yeah, well, no,
we
no,
can
you know,
explore
like I said,
that.
there's two differences. You have when it comes to like weight management nutrition, and then you have composition management nutrition. So obviously calories, where do they go? How do you deficit? But the type of those calories and how do you sequence them around your day, depending on if you're training late, early. So that's being more of a sniper on it. But I think for the average person, figuring out the calories and then making a better choice on where to put certain types of food to get the biggest return on
because I got guys coming like, oh, I see this guy's eating, his ground beef, then he has, has a handful of walnuts.
Yeah,
It's
whether
like,
it's nuts or
like
avocado,
why did he
beef or
choose to have that
chicken.
fat? It's
Yeah.
because, and I'm trying to explain it's a calorie thing, and you can't just eat that much quantity of protein. There has to be
Yeah.
something different in there. That's the energy source. But for a lot of people, that just doesn't really make sense. And
Do you find that we overcomplicate it though as well? Like
No, listen,
I
if
don't know.
I'm
Is it
a-
us that overcomplicates it? Is
I'm a
it
simpleton
is it
brain
Yeah.
when it comes to this stuff.
is it gurus that make it feel like it is, so you need their
Yeah,
assistance
like
to
you need
do
the
it?
equation.
I mean, I used to look at your nutrition plans for bodybuilders or fitness athletes, and I'm like, who the fuck eats like this? The 7 meals a day and the 6 rice cakes.
Some of
and
that
the
is
one-
like foundation fundamental stuff, but like, and a lot of people get into like, you have to eat this. No, it doesn't have to be this. Now, obviously a certain calorie number and a certain type of macronutrient at certain times per the person and goal makes a difference. Right. But I feel like we're in a world of information overload. Even now we're going to confuse some people. Right. So we're
Me for one.
information overload, where you go on social media and you hear all these people spit something or regurgitate something, and you're like, oh my God, like
Made up equations,
and they're like,
like
holy shit,
82%.
everything I've known forever is
shouldn't blend a
wrong.
banana.
And then you see the next clip and you're like, this guy just shit on this guy, and then this guy's shitting on this guy,
Right.
and like, what the fuck do I
drive
follow?
yourself crazy with
You know,
all
it's
this
like I
misinformation.
think a lot of people, the body works one way. You break it down to fundamentals, and we could do a fundamental type breakdown, kind of order a process. We could do this with working out. That's a whole nother one.
Yeah.
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, like we can supply with these hormones and peptides an ingredient in this giant recipe, which is wellness, longevity, muscle tone, body fat depletion. But you have to understand what those other ingredients are, and part of that's your lifestyle, and it's the workouts, and it's the diet, and it's the supplements, and it is very complex, and it can be extremely defeating when you don't feel like you understand, because you're like, I'm taking all this proper shit.
Well, do you
but-
find that it's more people just trying to figure out everything before they start? I want to read the book.
No,
before I
come
open
on,
the
man. I
page.
start building the thing before I look at the instruction manual.
But that's usually how
I'm on step 4 before I even open up the instructions. I'm
That-
like, wait,
That's why, again, coming back to
I gotta
whoever
figure
does
are
it.
these screws extra?
Well, that comes back to whoever does it most wins. It's like if you just get in and start doing it and focus on some people, this episode, like when should I eat? Some people would probably just practice going to the gym, before you worry about the eating. And this is probably the last point before we wrap it up. But I think that is another thing, like we complicate it, like this sort of conversation of like eating these times, that's probably a couple of steps down the line. For some people, it's like, dude, you just got to practice. If you
Not
have half
skipping
an hour,
meals,
turn up to the
and
fucking
eat
gym.
a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like start in that, that's the thing is
And
like
then worry about those
what we
micro
try to do for
points.
someone from scratch is like start with just something so simple. It's like you can't change your habits overnight. It's like you can't go from here to here. So like start with something simple. Choose better food and maybe not skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then add in the next
Yeah.
step. It's like do it in
Get used
micro.
to it.
Get
You
And
Microwaves.
then there's like this conversation about intermittent fasting, and it's like, holy
You know what
shit,
I would like
there's
to
just so
see,
much
honestly,
out there, man.
if and listen, if you guys want comment into this section,
Yeah,
is there
tell
a
us
certain
what your
thing
questions are.
particular you guys want to see an episode on or something that we want to cover? So we could be more specific. So we're not like today was just more conversation
It
and
was
try to add
interesting.
some
I mean,
value
I know I
into
got one
workout. But let's be more sniper. What is it that people are struggling on? Where do they want help? And we'll do our best to help out.
Yeah, sounds
yeah.
good, man. Thanks,
Cool.
Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. I got some takeaway from that. But guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. If you want to find out if you have low testosterone, maybe go to bit.ly/free Adam test. It's free. Couple of questions, less than 60 seconds. longer than my sex life. And make sure you get 10% off the first package with T Clinics if you are a ManLab listener. bit.ly/T Clinics USA. Linked for both of those in the description. And we'll see you next time.